We got you in to talk about Liverpool and their injuries. So Nathaniel Clyne goes out on loan and everybody's like, oh, that's good, you get a few games, maybe Bournemouth will pay us a bit too much money the way they do for everybody else.
Yeah.
And it's like
15 million for Ibe, 19 million for Solanke.
Great bit of business there, lads. And then all of a sudden Trent Alexander-Arnold is injured and it's like, who's going to play right back? Yeah. Who is going to play right back?
Well, I know a lot of people saying, is there a clause to get him back? Obviously they can't get him back. Why did they let Clyne go? Clyne wanted to go. He said, it's frustrating, I can't get a game. Over 2 years ago, this guy was a right back for Liverpool and he was first choice for England. And now he was nowhere near the Liverpool team. But I think even if he was fully fit, Klopp has moved on. That Clyne is one of those defenders. He's 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10. Even against United, his only start for Liverpool this season in the Premier League, he was solid. But when he goes forward, he doesn't really create. I was just looking even at his stats there, 103 appearances for Liverpool, and he has just 2 goals, 5 assists. Trent Alexander-Arnold, 7 assists from 67 games, 4 goals. Just gives you more going forward, and that's what Klopp needs.
Is that onto set pieces, though? The fact that Alexander-Arnold steps over a lot of frees.
Okay, that maybe for goals, but for assists, even the other day watching the Brighton game.
There's a step over of a direct free kick that somebody else bangs in. Does that count as an assist?
Oh, sorry, I meant stand over a free kick rather than step over.
He has scored a couple of free kicks, but even the other day watching them against Brighton, and apparently Alexander-Arnold's playing that game with the knee problem that he suffered in the warm-up.
Yeah.
And he puts in a cross that Shaqiri, the smallest player in the pitch, up against Duffy and Dunk, managed to get a bit of space. Alexander-Arnold on his left foot is still able to pick him out. Whereas I find watching Clyne down the years, when he gets into the final third, he either checks and plays it back or his final ball isn't good enough.
Let's say we all agree with that, right? Let's say your assessment is bang on and it's exactly what Jurgen Klopp thinks as well. But injuries happen, you're in the Champions League and you're in a title race. What the hell are you doing leaving yourself with no cover at right back?
Well, see, he looks at it, he has cover. He's got Fabinho, who's played as a right back for Brazil. He played centre-back against Brighton, had a decent enough game. James Milner, you could play him anywhere. Honestly, I'm starting to think if they played him in goal against Real Madrid,
he'd be better than
he would have done a better job than Karius.
But,
yeah. So Milner is going to probably play right back on Saturday, which isn't actually the easiest game to play when you've got Wilfried Zaha going to Anfield. That's a tester for you.
Yeah.
I mean,
who would you rather have, though?
Milner or Clyne?
Yeah. Up against Zaha. What if Milner gets absolutely roasted? Then you come back the next week and go, we now have a problem at right back.
I wouldn't be surprised if Milner absolutely cleans Zaha out of it early on, just to basically put his stamp on the game.
Takes his yellow card.
Just to say that gets a Zaha as well in particular, doesn't it?
He'll just, yeah, well, Zaha is always getting kicked up and down the pitch. But I agree. If you could, for one game, if you could say, right, who do you want to mark? Zaha, do you want Clyne or Milner? But then, we haven't seen enough of Clyne. He played well against United, but imagine the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer United going to Anfield now.
Yeah.
Then it would have been a different test for Clyne. This was one of the worst performances you're ever going to see from a United team at Anfield. So maybe it wasn't the greatest performance that day.
So you're not worried about...
No, because Gomez will be back soon. Obviously Fabinho can play there. I thought Rafa Camacho did okay against Wolves. He was a little...
He's the kid.
Yeah, he wasn't the kid that came on. He was
He wasn't Hoover.
No. He came on actually, and by the way, talk about coming back crashing down to earth. He got sent off in an under-23 game against... under-19 game, sorry, against Brighton there for a foul on Aaron Connolly. But he is probably just a little bit behind Camacho. Camacho played pre-season for Liverpool.
Okay.
This is a guy that by trade is a central midfielder, so he's a good ball player, and Klopp has decided, and we can use him as a right back because they used him in there for pre-season and he was very good. He's got pace. Alexander-Arnold essentially could end up being a midfielder for Liverpool in the long term. That's where a lot of people would see him going but the difference with Clyne and Alexander-Arnold, I can see why Klopp has decided, right, if you want to go, we're not going to stop you.
How long is he out for?
They're saying 4 weeks.
Okay.
Worst case scenario. The thing is about these medical reports, Harry Kane, I saw somebody say he's going to miss 11 games.
Yeah.
I guarantee he'll probably miss about 6 games. Harry Kane always comes back. all these players get back a lot sooner than
The
thought.
list of games: Fulham, Chelsea, Palace, Watford, Newcastle, Leicester, Dortmund home, Champions League first leg, last 16. That's in February. Burnley, Carabao Cup final, Chelsea away, Arsenal at home, Borussia Dortmund away. That is the full list of the games. If they make the Carabao Cup final, obviously, that would be the full list of the 11 games that he's expected
For Harry Kane.
The thing is, compare Liverpool to City, because you have to compare Liverpool to City at all times here. They've had their problems at left back. Who's better, the backup for Manchester City left back for Benjamin Mendy, or Liverpool's backup options at right back? Is there that much of a difference between Delph and Milner, both of them playing out of position at full back?
Yeah, but I think Milner actually, because he had that season at left back, he has defensively, he's a lot stronger than Delph. I think of.
So they're in a better position than Manchester City.
Yeah, well,
have been for the last
say
10
for
years.
a goal that springs to mind, Delph, the goal that Leicester scored, the equaliser. Vardy puts a cross in, and you can see Delph looking at Mark Albrighton. He looks, he's there, and then he looks again, he's gone. Like Mark Albrighton did him and just like tricked him and got a few yards of space, and the ball's in the back of the net. So Milner has a bit more capability defensively, I think, than Fabian Delph. Obviously, right back, City have problems as well, because Kyle Walker, I don't know what's going on with him, but he hasn't been great. Danilo isn't great. So, like Liverpool, I could see why Liverpool fans are thinking it seems a bit daft, but Nathaniel Clyne has not played much football for Liverpool in the last couple of seasons, and nobody's missed him.
All right. With Spurs and this Harry Kane injury, do they give Troy Parrott a chance, or do they buy somebody? I mean, Son's going, right? He's going to be
Gone,
away
yeah.
Gone, yeah.
So all of a sudden, it's Fernando Llorente or a false nine or the kid.
Well, Vincent Janssen's still there.
Pochettino said that he doesn't want him anymore,
Yeah.
basically.
Well, because Parrott played a reserve game a few weeks ago against Liverpool, and he came on for the last few minutes, and Janssen started that game.
Right.
So you're kind of wondering, what is Pochettino thinking? With all Parrott's goals this season have all come at underage level. He scored 3 in the UEFA Youth League. He scored against PSV, against Inter and Barca. Every time, and those games are on TV, and they tend to be on early in the afternoon. And when we're working hard in the office, we're like, let's put on a bit of UEFA Youth League, and there's Troy Parrott banging in goals.
Is he a 9?
He plays as a 9, yeah. He's not even 17 yet.
No. It's very ridiculous, really. There's no chance of them giving him significant game time in the absence of Harry Kane, is there?
He's going to be sitting on the bench. There's some of those fixtures there, surely, like that you could get. The problem is the
Palace in the Cup.
Yeah, see, if it wasn't Palace, if it was Tranmere like it was in the third round, they wouldn't have to take Kane off the bench. The icon that night that Pochettino said the Tranmere fans were lucky to see.
I thought he was right. I mean, come on. At least Pochettino's like throwing the FA Cup a bone there.
It could have been Harry Kane saying, put me on. There's loads of goals in this.
Because that's what managers need to do when they're a manager of a football team, is look after competitions, not their team.
His standing in the game is important to him because he wants to be the manager of Manchester United. He wants to be a leader.
He might be thinking now, like given the last few days what's happened, maybe the United job isn't such a bad idea. But I just think with Pochettino, he's not under that much pressure at Spurs. If he was given money at Spurs, like he said in an interview, if you want to talk about us challenging for league titles, give me 300 million, then the pressure will go up on him. But if he goes to United, it's different pressure. I don't know if he's ready for that.
I'd say he probably is at this point.
Think
Well,
so?
you've got to find out, right? Like, it's a bit like United Ireland is now or never. I don't know. I think that if you're Spurs, you're trying to get a loan deal. You're trying to hijack the Higuain transfer loan. You're desperately trying to get some bodies in who aren't Fernando Llorente.
And Higuain's going to Chelsea. That seems to be something that's going to be completed.
It's hard to do what Chelsea did to Spurs at Willian. It's hard to do a reverse of that for Spurs, considering the Sarri and Higuain link. So I'd be very surprised if
somebody like that, though. Do you take Alvaro Morata and turn him into a striker who can actually score goals?
Well, selling to your rivals is obviously not going to happen. It just kind of strikes me that you say that Pochettino should be playing or should be bigging up the FA Cup as if he's like some sort of politician. Like what he did with Harry Kane against Tranmere is like what Gianni Infantino would do if he was a football manager. As in, like, keep everybody happy, put a smile on the face of everybody. He's not here to make friends. He's here to win football matches and football tournaments. Playing Harry Kane against Tranmere late on was stupid. But anyway, that's just kind of like a little point that was kind of annoying me there.
don't know what the Tranmere fans thought actually when they saw Harry Kane
5
come
minutes
on.
ago. Okay, on. Well done.
I didn't want to interject.
It's called l'esprit d'escalier.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever you said. So basically, what's the kind of final verdict here, that Liverpool are
I
not
just like to
going
go back
to
to
come
the point you made at like 8:25 this morning now, and I thought that was,
I think Liverpool will be fine without Trent Alexander-Arnold for a few games. Milner will go in there. If Matip even comes back, they have the option of Fabinho in midfield, at right back, and then they can reshuffle midfield, where it's about time actually Naby Keita started showing what he's made of, because
and now there's going to be room for that because some of the midfielders going to play right back.
Like even he came on against Brighton the other day and he gave a ball away that led to a chance, the Pascal Gross chance that Fabinho actually blocked. But he away to Burnley a few weeks ago, it's probably the best game I've seen him play for Liverpool, and that there hasn't been many, because he's been moved about. He's played on the left sometimes, he's played in a 4-3-3, he's played in a 4-2-3-1. So I just thought he's been a bit of a disappointment, but if he could finish the season strongly and get into the starting 11, I don't think Liverpool fans would be too worried about what's happened before that.
I mean, I don't know. I think people are misremembering his time at Villa. A good solid defence, 2 wingers, good strikers, loads of goals. Phil.
John Carew.
I mean,
Ashley Young.
Yeah. Like Ashley Young as an out-and-out winger before he becomes an actual fullback.
So he got his
at
move
Man United.
Yeah.
That was a great Villa team.
It's a good Villa team, yeah.
Solid.
They needed a striker, and then they wouldn't give him the money for a striker, and then they fell out, and they stupidly sacked him, and that was the beginning of the end. Like, then they spent 20 million on Darren Bent. I'm like, oh my god, what are you doing? I mean, they wouldn't give him the money to buy Darren Bent, got rid of him, cost them a lot of money to get rid of him, and then signed Darren Bent anyway.
Who succeeded O'Neill?
There was a load of people.
David O'Leary was there as well, remember?
Here was before that.
He was the immediate successor to
McLeish.
McLeish, I think.
Rings a bell.
Either way, it didn't make a lot of sense, and things just got a lot worse. At least they were still in that bracket for a very brief amount of time after that. Obviously, they were kind of like...
Oh no, once McLeish came in, it was over.
But no,
second. That was the end of it.
They didn't go straight into relegation mire, though.
Oh, they were fighting relegation.
David O'Leary he had a few issues with them.
So O'Neill takes over from O'Leary and turns him into a top 6 team. And then, I forgot about this, Gerard Houllier.
Oh, yeah.
Gerard Houllier took over and was like, oh no, I'm fine, I'm totally fine. I'm not fine, I'm completely screwed. He only lasted like 6 months. He went from September to June. Then McLeish, then Lambert, then Sherwood, then Remy Gard, then Roberto Di Matteo, then Steve Bruce, now Dean Smith.
I've got no recollection of Roberto Di Matteo.
Neither do I, and I'm a Villa fan.
No, I was at a Villa game when Remy Gard was in charge. They played Arsenal.
I wanted them to give Remy Gard a bit more time, but that didn't work out.
No, that was the time to make your Allardyce appointment, not Remy Gard. Kind of like the Huddersfield appointment right now.
Sherwood wasn't that bad. Sherwood got into like an FA Cup final, and the team was... So what happened with Sherwood, I think, was that they signed lots of players over his head, and he wouldn't pick them. And they were like, these players actually aren't that bad. You should just pick them. Just because they weren't your players, put them in the team. But he wouldn't. And then Remy Gard was going to play all the players that your man, the Liverpool, Kamoli had bought them.
Oh, God.
He actually did a good job. He bought some good players.
He's in Fenerbahce or something now. He just gets jobs all the time.
He's obviously got a good scouting network. Like, they signed Idrissa Gueye and the fast guy from Barcelona,
Adama Traore,
who didn't quite make it at Villa in the way that he's not quite making it now.
Yeah, at Wolves. I was watching him chase around the hopeless cause the other night. I said, that's actually suits his game.
Yeah, there's a player there, right? There's like something there that's worth having on your bench, and they got him for next to nothing, but I've no idea how we ended up down the wormhole of Aston Villa.
Martin O'Neill,
there you go.
It's your favourite wormhole? Of all the
it's
things,
not. It's the most painful one.
Yeah, well, that's obviously the best one. Like, what's the most painful thing about being an Aston Villa supporter?
That they've been relentlessly shit as long as I've been supporting them, with the exception of the Paul McGrath era.
What about the Martin O'Neill era, though? Like, that's what we were talking about here. They were good times.
They were grand times.
Like, what would you do now for a top 6 Premier League team?
Actually, what's the point of being a top 6 Premier League team? It's better being a team who just about stays off relegation because there's drama But if you're like just about to qualify or not qualifying for, what's the joy?
The getting great European nights away and things like that, and you know that's when you go on your FA Cup run or your Carabao Cup run.
Yeah. So that's why Arsenal fans love the cup, because like it's a chance for them to win a trophy. And that's not a dig. Like, you took it as a dig.
Arsenal fans are very tetchy at the moment because we got our Arsenal back. It wasn't that long ago that they were singing that, and it's a bit of a shambles.
Well, they should start singing "We got our Arsenal back" now, because this really is
actually getting worse.
Arsenal. It's just kind of a crumbling of the structure in the football club, a reversal of literal fortune, as in, you know that thing about qualifying for the Champions League?
Yeah.
That's actually quite important. Back-to-back seasons where you're not in the top four and not having that revenue coming in. Turns out you actually can't afford to pay Mesut Ozil £1 billion a week. Turns out you can't afford to pay Aaron Ramsey £1 billion a week to sit on the bench. And both of those players are now going to leave. Ozil, they are talking about paying some of his wages while they sell him to another club. That is how grim the situation has rapidly become.
That's like the financial mismanagement on the Leeds scale of stuff. It's like, yeah, we'll pay you to play for somebody else.
And then
Who's Seth Johnson and all this?
And then decent kind of nubs of recruitment over the past 12 months, mainly down to Sven Mislintat. He's gone, it seems. It all comes back to this bizarre thing that happened at the start of the season where even Gazidis just left.
Yeah.
He went to AC Milan. This is supposed to be the most exciting part of being involved at Arsenal Football Club. The Wenger era was finally over. It was like starting the next book, and after page one you're like, nah, I'm not having that. I'm off to read another book. And the end of the first book was so good. Like, what are you doing? You've left yourself on a cliffhanger, and that's it. What the hell happened that even Gazidis left Arsenal Football Club? Something was not right. And because of that, now Mislintat is gone. Is it because of Silent Stan? Is it because of the real top rungs of the football club that actually just don't care? Well, if they cared a little bit more, they could get it back just about 5 or 6 years ago when they were being very, very average, but being very average and qualifying for the top four every single year, qualifying for the Champions League every single year, and having that steady stream of sweet Champions League cash. Instead, they're in a bigger danger of crashing out of the top six than they are of becoming a solid Champions League team consistently again.
But the problem is, in those years, like Liverpool have got their act together, so have Spurs. So that adds in two teams. Like Liverpool were hit and miss. They couldn't sustain Champions League challenges. Even when they finished second under Benitez or they finished second under Rodgers, then they couldn't follow it up. They're doing that under Klopp. That just puts Arsenal out a bit. And obviously Spurs are finishing in the top three consistently. And again, that just pushes Arsenal. Arsenal aren't doing that much different, but their competitors have got better. But the worry is the gap is going to get bigger.
Well, that's the worry. Like, it is somewhat acceptable. It's more acceptable to stand still than to actually regress, because that's what's going to happen here with these moves. That, okay, it might not be ideal. You may say that Mesut Ozil doesn't deserve the money he gets paid. Fair enough. But the one thing you cannot do as a football club is start pulling back revenue in terms of what you're investing into players, because ultimately cash is king in this game, and Arsenal already weren't a financial heavyweight in the mould of Manchester City or Chelsea. And now they're even lessening that position, it seems.
I think a lot of those
are getting carried away.
Yeah, I think a lot of those English teams, their power in world football is absolutely massive. It's about recruitment. It's about being able to buy well, and there's no strategy at the moment at Arsenal, and that's the issue.